Welcome and thank you for joining me. In parts 1 and 2 of the Chi-Rho series, secret messages were revealed from Constantine's Chi-Rho symbol that reportedly appeared to him in the sky along with the phrase in Greek, in tikoi nika. This translated into the Latin phrase, in hoc signo vinces, or in this sign you will seek. This iconic symbol eventually became the oldest symbol associated to Christianity. Its likeness is seen carved in many stone reliefs with the Greek letters R and O, and the Latin letters S and A, spelling out the Latin word rosa, or rose in English. To the Romans, the expression sub rosa, under the rose, is the symbol of secrecy, signifying one should seek further messages in this sign. The two keys that are needed to translate more messages from the Chi-Rho symbol come from the Phoenician letters T for Ta and TH for Tet or Teth. The seafaring Phoenicians settled along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and inhabited the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia down to the Persian Gulf. The Phoenician alphabet is the basis for many modern alphabets to include Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and English. The two Phoenician letters Ta and Tet in Greek symbolize Tau for life and Thatnos for death. When these two Phoenician letters are used in the translations, words such as astro for star and its anagram rotas for rotate appears. And when the Chi-Rho symbol is rotated as instructed, the Greek omega letter becomes a small Latin letter M. And if the distinctly long stem of the letter Rho is used for the letter I, the word Mithras appears. Worship of the Roman sun god Mithras spread through the Roman Empire from circa 1st century BC to the 5th century AD, and its older Persian Zoroastrian counterpart god Mithra or Mitra, spelled without an S and sometimes spelled without an H, dates back to 1400 BC. Scholars believe the Persian Mitra was adopted and adapted by the Greeks and Romans into their god of the rising sun Mithras. Due to the religion's promise of life after death and the fight of good against evil, Mithras became the go-to god for worship of the Roman soldiers. Stone-carved Mithras reliefs are found from Syria to Britain and are uniquely characterized by the image of the god Mithras restraining a bull, with the top corners displaying the faces of a sun god and a moon goddess, while two torch-bearer attendants are seen holding torches. Some reliefs are surrounded by the depiction of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Scholars lament that these Mithras reliefs have no accompanying documentation to understand their religious beliefs. Undeniably, Mithras is linked to the 12 astrological signs of the zodiac. Astrology is the language of symbols, and from my translation, a creation story of their beliefs unfolds from the symbols on their reliefs. In 331 BC, Alexander the Great conquered the Babylonian, Assyrian, Persian Empire, sparking the Greek Hellenistic era. In 332, Alexander marched south to defeat Egypt, merging these cultures and beliefs, igniting the era for the development of Hellenistic astrology. Interestingly enough, one particular relief functions as a Rosetta Stone for this creation story and displays the 12 signs of the zodiac. The previous Babylonian and Egyptian omen-based astrology was modified under the auspice of the Greeks and refined into horoscopic astrology of 12 zodiac signs in each 30-degree house, governed by planets that are ruled by the gods. It's believed the energy of the planets and houses influence different areas of life. However, the ascendant, a rising sign, and houses are unique to Hellenistic astrology. The ascendant, known in Greek as horoskopos, or hour watcher, marks the moment the sun rises over the eastern horizon in the morning at the moment of one's birth for a particular location on Earth, thus anchoring into the chart the house locations of sun and moon and the 5 visible planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The zodiac signs work within the framework of only time, reflecting the sun's apparent yearly orbit around the Earth, and the sun spends 1 month in each sign. On the other hand, the 12 earthly houses work within the physical framework of space and time, reflecting the 24-hour rotation of the Earth around its axis, with the moon spending approximately 2.5 days in each sign. It's believed that the chart ascendant is the powerful guiding force in a person's life and fortune. The Egyptians told time at night by the stars that rose hourly over the horizon, and in many instances time can be a place. The basic horoscopic scheme entails a number of features to include constellations, zodiac signs, masculine and feminine signs, planetary house rulerships, the existence of dark and light, and the motion of four terrestrial elements, fire, water, air, and earth, and their form of hot or cold, and wet or dry. An outlined fifth divine quintessential source element called ether supposedly exists, which the Greeks believed to be present in all things. The dictionary calls astrological influences the energy of an ethereal fluid from the stars affecting human actions and destinies. Historically, the first constellations were Leo for fire and action, Scorpio for water and emotions, Aquarius for air and the mind, and Taurus for earth and the material realm. Intriguingly, the ascendant is one main message in Constantine's Chi-Rho symbol, and was important enough to repeat it twice in both Greek and Latin letters. The ancient Greek symbol for the ascendant combines the small Greek letter omega and capital Greek letter rho, and the Latin abbreviation for the ascendant are the letters AS and ASC. As you can see, if you cursor along the Chi-Rho symbol counterclockwise, the Greek omega rho symbol appears, and if you continue around, the Latin AS abbreviation for the ascendant appears. The small Greek omega letter means grade, and the Greek letter rho comes from the Phoenician letter res, meaning head, and combined they translate into great head, or something akin to the divine essence of a godhead. The three main components in a horoscope chart at the time of birth are the ascendant and the locations of the sun and moon. Next, we'll discover the phoenix rising, associated to the god of the sun, Apollo, and the goddess of the night, Nyx. These reliefs show Mithras glancing back at a bird, indicating this bird has great symbolic importance. In the Mithras Rosetta Stone relief, the bird is positioned where normally the ascendant resides on the horoscope chart. This bird symbolizes the phoenix rising, the mythological bird associated with the sun that bursts into flames and resurrects out of the ashes like a new sunrise to live again. In ancient Egypt, the not-so-glamorous yellow wagtail bird symbolized the creator's sun god Atum, and the heron was the bird of the rising sun for life after death. These two birds are considered the inspiration for the Egyptians' imaginary Bennu bird of sacred sun worship that eventually morphed into the phoenix of Greek mythology. However, similar stories go back to the Sumerian and Babylonian worship of the Anzu bird, depicted at times as half man and half bird, or a lion-headed eagle creator god. It's interesting to note that the ascendant omega rho symbol actually looks like a rising bird. In another thought process, the omega letter embodies the female cleft and the rho the male phallus. The key to understanding the Greek concept of the phoenix rising is the word phoenix. The prefix phi comes from the Latin word phoebus, and in Greek phoebos, and means bright, shining, or radiant. In mythology, the Latin name Phoebus is synonymous for the sun god Apollo, and you'll often see his name as Phoebus Apollo. And in ancient Greek, the suffix bos, or bois, means bull, ox, cattle, or cow. So does his name mean radiant bull? The name Phoebus most likely came from Apollo's grandmother, who was the Titan moon goddess Phoebe. Zeus, his father, is of the sky, and Apollo is of the sun. The suffix nyx in the word phoenix, which is also spelled Nyx, refers to the primordial goddess Nyx of the night, who stood at the doorway of creation. In fact, the name Nyx is the origin for our English word night. Therefore, the word phoenix is a compound word for the sun god Phoebus Apollo and the primordial night goddess Nyx. Thus, the word phoenix represents day and night. In Greek mythology, the first primordial family of deities is known as protogenoi, who formed the very fabric of the universe at the time of creation. These immortal gods sired the Titans, a second-generation family of gods, and the Titans sired the Olympians, a third-generation family of gods. Nyx and her consort brother Erebos or Erebus of darkness was born out of chaos along with Gaia of the earth, Eros of love, and Tartarus of the underworld. Erebus is also a place of darkness in the underworld where the spirits of the dead passed on the way to Hades. However, if you break the name apart, the prefix er means master in Greek, and bos or bos means bull. So is he the master of the sacred bull that survives allegorically in the constellation of Taurus? Nyx gave birth to a son Ether of heavenly light and a daughter Hemera of day. Nyx and Hemera of night and day greeted one another as they passed the great threshold of bronze. As one is going down into the house of Tartarus, the other comes out the door. Although it took two female goddesses to manifest day and night in their traverse across the sky, an opposing male figure was needed for the balance of female and male. Eventually, Hemera passed the baton to Zeus, and later Zeus passed it on to Apollo. Evidently, the Led Zeppelin song Dazed and Confused was right. The soul of a woman was created below. Nyx stood at the threshold of creation and was a shrouded veil of an entity who crossed the sky in her chariot, pulled by two dark horses named Shade and Shadow, while trailing darkness and dropping stars along the way. Nyx is the first deity who brought beauty into our worldly existence, and is said to be more powerful than Zeus. She is impervious to time by keeping Cronus chained and drunk in her cave in the underworld of Tartarus. Primordial Cronus marked the division between the eon of chaos to the beginning of the cosmos, and turns the wheel of time. He is most often depicted with the zodiac wheel surrounding him. This is not Zeus's father Cronus that is spelled without an H. On the other hand, it appears the Roman sun god Sol Invictus's job was to be the intermediary to mortal imperial leadership. Apollo's role as the all-powerful sun god was not specifically designed for him to interact with humans. Birthday lore clearly separates divine Apollo's birthday on May 7th with the divine mediator to mortal Sol Invictus's birthday on December 25th, which is right after the winter solstice. Mithras' birthday is December 25th as well, and Mithras is also the intermediary between humankind and the gods. Jesus turned from mortal to divine and was a liaison with the same birthday. The Gemini twins represents earthly and heavenly, or mortal versus immortal. Twins and twinning of the gods crowns the unity of duality in the Greco-Roman world. In essence, Sol Invictus was the overseer of the mortal guardian Constantine, and in turn, Constantine was the mortal twin of Sol Invictus, the prophet who publicly conveyed the wishes of the gods through his connection to Sol Invictus, and covertly in private through Mithras. Mithras' December 25th birthday is 3 days after the winter solstice, when the sun appears to stand still in the sky. The Greek Titan Helios, Titan and Olympian Zeus, and Olympian Apollo merged as each acquired more attributes as time went on. Helios was the guardian of oaths and sight, who rode a golden chariot across the sky each day from east to west, while his return journey at night was lounging in a golden cup. Helios is referred either directly as Zeus's eye or is clearly implied to be Zeus. Zeus acquired the title of King of Heaven, Sky, and Men, as well as overseer of weather, law, destiny, and fate. Zeus's son is the god of sun, light, healing, music, poetry, prophecy, healing, and manly beauty. Apollo's son Asclepius is the god of healing, who has been identified as Mithras in prior videos. However, the role of Nyx was never replaced by any later generation god or goddess, demonstrating that Nyx's extreme power continued to be revered, probably feared, for her role was still creation honored. Homer called Nyx the subduer of gods and men, and relates that Zeus himself stood in awe of her power. So what do Apollo and Nyx have in common for their names to be combined into the word phoenix? Apollo and Nyx both were given the gift of prophecy, for true vision is seeing the past into the future. Nyx is purported to have brought truth into the world, and Apollo is the god of truth and light. Truth in Latin and Old English means veracity, faith, fidelity, loyalty, honor, pledge, and covenant. In Proto-Germanic, it means promise or covenant. These qualities are the formidable attributes of Mithras that are not doctrines but truth. So now let's change gears and find out what the remaining symbols mean on the Mithras relief. Today's tropical astrology is based on seasons of the year rather than constellations. Seasons are caused by the tilt of the earth. The sun's yearly sinuous traverse reaches from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, with the equinoxes at the equator. The word tropikos in Greek means to turn, and once the sun reaches the highest point overhead at the solstices, the sun appears to stand still. Although the sun only stands still for a moment in time, it takes a few days for the sun to have any discernible movement. On the horoscopic charts, the spring equinox on the eastern horizon is at 0 degrees Aries around March 20th. The summer solstice is at 0 degrees Cancer around June 20th. The fall equinox is at 0 degrees Libra around September 20th. And the winter solstice is at 0 degrees Cancer around December 20th. In essence, a tropical solar year is the time it takes from the spring equinox to the next, as the sun traverses a sinuous S-shaped path. Surprisingly, tropical astrology has nothing to do with the backdrop of stars or constellations, which is a sidereal year. Interestingly enough, when the Chi-Rho symbol is rotated, the sinuous S shape appears as well as the sun rising over the eastern horizon. The zodiac signs have three modes, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, that expresses a modality, or state of being for each sign. The cardinal signs are at the beginning of each season, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and are the dynamic force of initiation and action as trendsetters, leaders, and visionary goal setters. The fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, are doers, the foundation, who are the nuts and bolt mechanics that carry out the cardinal signs' vision to completion. The mutable signs prepare for the change of season, carrying qualities of both the cardinal and fixed signs, which is the reason they're also called double-bodied signs. The cardinal signs outline the main axis of the zodiac wheel, called the angular houses, which are the most influential houses on the chart. The question is, how did these coordinations of the zodiac wheel and the natural system of seasons come about, and why? In the 3rd century BC, the Mesopotamians believed when all the planets were in Cancer or Capricorn, the world would be destroyed by either water or fire. The Egyptians started their year at the star Sirius's heliacal rising, its visible appearance above the eastern horizon out of the glare of the sun and rising at the same time as the sun, triggering the replenishing floodwaters of the Nile. The Chaldean Assyrian mystics of Babylon categorized the planets by their relative speed and distance from the sun, indicating that every planet in turn rules the stage in the linear progression of time for the measurement of change. After creation, the Persians believed the sun started moving forward in the sign of Leo. The concept of as above makes space for so below that is reinforced by my numerous translations in my previous videos with the main topic of binding heaven and earth. Astrologically, when a planet or star, in this case, is not moving during the solstice turn, its effects on humans is more profound. With all this information in mind, the Greeks asked themselves, what were the astrological conditions at the time of creation to bring an orderly cosmos while usurping the universal natural laws out of chaos? The Greeks artfully devised the Thema Mundi, the world theme, the mystical horoscope showing the position of the planets at the time of creation. The Thema Mundi is believed to be the basis for many subsequent underlying principles of Hellenistic astrology. Interestingly enough, the ascendant for the creation is at 15 degrees Cancer, that is allied with its ruling planet the moon, and all the other signs have their ruling planets at 15 degrees as well. The Thema Mundi reflects the light of the moon associated with the primordial goddess of the night Nyx, which is at 15 degrees Cancer, and in fact Cancer is ruled by the moon. Ancient Chaldean as well as Platonic philosophy considered the sign of Cancer the gate of men, the portal through which souls descended from the heavens into newly born bodies. We now have two guiding astrological charts, the recognizable modern tropical seasonal chart caused by the tilt of the Earth, and the moon-based Thema Mundi of creation. So where does the sun come into the equation? It appears this conundrum can be answered through the symbolism of the Mithras relief, with all the roads leading back to the Persian belief that the sun starts moving forward in the sign of Leo after creation. It appears some hidden astrology will be now revealed. The typical orientation of any modern astrology chart is the equinoxes are along the horizontal east and west axis, and the solstices are along the vertical north and south. However, the Mithras relief has shifted the eastern horizon of the ascendant to the top of the relief, meaning the sun is rising during its daily 24-hour spin at the top of the relief. The Egyptians commonly placed east at the top of the world. This configuration is pointing out the Taurus age of the heavenly bull, which occurred circa 4000 to 2000 BC, when the Taurus constellation was in the backdrop at the time of the ascendant sun was rising over the eastern horizon. Next, you'll notice the symbols for Gemini and Cancer are very close in proximity. So it's saying that the yearly position of the sun is at 0 degrees Cancer, the very important time of the summer solstice. If 15 degrees Taurus is at the ascendant at the top of the relief and the sun is at 0 degrees Cancer, 15 degrees Leo appears at the traditional place of the ascendant. The solstice sun at the Gemini-Cancer cusp is its yearly path, and the ascendant sun is its daily rising from the spinning of the earth. With the face of the moon goddess Nyx positioned right at the summer solstice, this conjunction of the sun and moon is telling you that this is the dark time of a new moon. This is the time of year that Sirius emerges out of the glare of the sun and helically rises with the sun, marking the time of coming summer abundance and renewal. It's believed that when the Earth and Sirius is aligned in Leo in August, a Lion's Gate is activated, awakening and deepening our human understanding. The sun perceivably stands still for 3 days after the moment of the summer solstice, and the sun is believed to have died and come back to life in a resurrection, which coincides with the biblical story that Jesus died and rose again from the dead on the third day. It takes a month and a half for the sun to trek the 45 degrees from 0 degrees Cancer to 15 degrees Leo. However, it only takes 3 days for the moon to reach 15 degrees Leo. On average, the moon moves 12 to 13 degrees per day. If the moon is moving 12 degrees per day, it takes 3 days to reach 15 degrees Leo. So let's follow the moon's course from 0 degrees Cancer. It takes the first day to reach 15 degrees Cancer, thus moving to the position of creation. It takes the second day to reach the cusp of Leo, where the lion on the relief is shown leaping into the cusp of the fixed sign of Leo, and it takes a third day to reach 15 degrees Leo. The relief itself gives clues that more is happening in the background through motion. Mithras' billowing cape is a Greek art form called Volifio that represents vigorous motion, the vault of heaven, or an epiphany. Nyx is often depicted with a billowing cloak over her head, symbolizing the vault of heaven. Under the cover of Mithras' fluttering cape, the motions of death and resurrection are occurring. Cancer the crab is crawling out of hiding into the spotlight of the Leo sun. The cardinal sign of Cancer is transitioning into the fixed sign of Leo. The meek is turning bold. The detail-oriented is now looking at the big picture. In my translation, the goddess of the moon, Nyx, meets the sun god Apollo at the Lion's Gate and intersects with the phoenix rising symbol. This has the character of the Latin word votalius, or English volatile, meaning to fly, winged, to take wings, indicating rapid change. The moon touches deep into the solar heart of Leo, and in fact, at the heart of the lion resides the star Regulus, which is located on the ecliptic, the sun's path, and divides Cancer the crab in half. While the yearly sun is noticeably standing still, and the moon is taking 3 days to move counterclockwise to mid-sign Leo, the ascendant sun takes 3 hours to move clockwise from 15 degrees Taurus to 0 degrees Aries, which occurs 3 times during this 3-day period. As you can see, the face of Apollo representing the sun is exactly at 0 degrees Aries on the relief. The sign of Taurus is called the Gates of Hades, which has puzzled astrologers throughout time. The charts presented work in concert together, closing the circuit of the 3 most important features of a horoscopic chart: the ascendant, moon, and sun. The affiliation of Thema Mundi with Cancer moon creates the Gate of Men that is joined by the Leo sun Lion's Gate, as the Taurus ascendant sun opens the Gate of Hades. Meanwhile, the star Sirius is emerging out of the glare of the sun, harking renewal. And if this isn't enough happening all at once, 15 degrees of all of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, open the gates of the Avatar, which are now located on the angular houses for emphasis. So what are the gates of Avatar? 15 degrees of all the fixed signs is exactly midway between the equinoxes and solstices, and is called the Gates of the Avatars. Avatar in Sanskrit means the descent of a deity to earth, a magical being from heaven, an incarnate divine teacher. Those born at this halfway point portal are said to be bestowed gifts. Any planet located on these degrees will bring luck and fortune, as well as rag to riches and back again scenarios. They can transcend difficulty within the sacred heart of the fixed signs. These transcendental human gatekeepers are connected to divinity. Whether this true or not, Apollo's May 7th birthday at 274 AD on the Grecian island of Delos has his ascendant at 15 degrees Aquarius, his sun sign at 15 degrees Taurus, moon on the cusp of Scorpio, and Mars on the cusp of Leo. So far, the discussion has centered on the seasons, creation, signs, and houses. But what about the planets? To fill this gap, the Greeks devised the Hellenistic joy of the planets chart, appointing the 7 planets into certain places in the chart. When a planet is in its place of joy, it rejoices. Mercury is joyful when placed at the 1st house location, Venus at the 5th, Mars at the 6th, the Sun the 9th, Jupiter the 11th, and Saturn the 12th. Moreover, descriptive names were given to each place that amazingly coincides well with my previous findings. If you superimpose the joys of planets chart onto the Mithras relief and compare the descriptive nature of the places with the planets and signs, Taurus is at the apex at the Gates of Hades place, and Scorpio, the sign of death, is at the nadir in the idle death place along the vertical axis. The moon goddess on the relief is lined up with the joy's moon goddess place. Leo represents the place of good fortune, and Aquarius of good spirits, and both are aligned along the horizontal axis. Cancer is the cardinal sign that ignites the creation of our unconscious cosmos, and Leo is the fixed sign accomplishing, completing, and detonating the emergence of consciousness. The lion bounds into consciousness, which holds an obligation of ethics, morals, and values. The Latin word conscientia, or conscience, literally means together to know, and infers knowledge within oneself. However, this reaches far past mere awareness, and is extending into a moral sense of right and wrong that should affect one's motives and behavior. There are a few interesting features to note in this chart. The sun is opposite the moon in this chart, meaning that it's at the time of a full moon, whereas the Lion's Gate chart is at the time of a new moon. In the place of good fortune, Apollo represents the son of Leo, and God in Sagittarius represents his father, the sky god Zeus, all-father god of the Titans and Olympians. It appears there's a number of ascendants for different functions. 15 degrees Cancer, Gate of Men creates. 15 degrees Leo is the Phoenix rising of Lion's Gate of ascending. 15 degrees Taurus is the Gate of Hades of descending. Each distinct ascendant symbolizes an element. Cancer for creation and the face of Nyx on the relief represent water. Lion's Gate and the face of Apollo represent fire. Gates of Hades and Mithras' bull represent earth. And the birth of life ascendant at the time of sunrise is represented by the four faces on each corner of the relief, which are the wind gods of air that embody the mind. Putting together the graphics of the 3-day traverse of the moon from the solstice, the 3-hour traverse of the sun at the equinox, while assuming a mirror image is formed from the opposing solstice and equinox, a circular swastika called a sun cross appears. The bull representing Taurus at the top of the relief is leaping left, while the Aries ram is leaping right. This is depicting the end of the age of Taurus that was commanded by the earthly bull in agriculture, and is announcing the arrival of the age of Aries, which occurred circa 2000 BC to 1 AD, representing the fiery ram of war. This transition between Taurus and Aries was a period of great conflict and expansion of empires, from the softer and brittle bronze to the stronger iron swords. The dog, vulture, and snake on the right side of the relief are all symbols of Aries. Eclipses are another special circumstance that symbolically appear on the Mithras reliefs at the time of the new moon of creation and the joys of the full moon of awakening. Eclipses occur due to the 5.1 degree tilt of the moon. Eclipses of the moon run in cycles when the sun, moon, and earth intersect at the moon's nodes within 10 to 18 degrees along the ecliptic, which is the sun's path. When the moon is entering the northern hemisphere of the sun's ecliptical path, it's an ascending eclipse, and when it's entering the southern hemisphere, it's a descending eclipse. On a typical rising and setting of the sun and moon on the Mithras reliefs, one torch bearer is holding his torch up, and the other is holding his torch down. However, on some reliefs, the torch bearers are either holding both torches up or both torches down. When both torches are being held up, it was the time of the ascending nodal eclipse, and when both torches are being held down, it was the time of the descending nodal eclipse. Eclipses are powerful astrological events, casting a portent shadow that is under the jurisdiction of Nyx. These events perplex the occupants of the earth, why they're being forsaken by Nyx's shadow. The Greek word eklipo means to abandon, to go missing, vanish. Such shadows of the earth and moon signify abandonment and punishment by angry gods. The fusion of beliefs of the Persian Mitra to the Greco-Roman astrological Mithras reaches back to at least 600 BC on the Greek island of Delos. This terrace of lions was constructed facing east toward Sacred Lake, believed to be the birthplace of Apollo. Circa the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, the Mithridates conducted trade, spurred war disputes, and worshipped Persian Mitra in Athens and on the island of Delos, actually leaving inscriptions venerating Apollo. The word Mithridate is an old Persian word for Midat, meaning send or given by Mitra. Thus, this period enhanced the fusion of Persian Mitra to Roman Mithras. Later, Christianity modified the bull into a dragon and Mithras into Archangel St. Michael. So the Persian Zoroastrian concept for the fight of good against evil continues. My Mithras creation story is akin to the ancient Egypt's creation story of the god Atum, who emerged from the endless watery abyss, creating gods by making love with his own shadow and ascending each morning from the waters of chaos holding a snake. Atum then passed the baton of love to the goddess Hathor, depicted as a cow who birthed the sun god each dawn and placed him between her horns. The Egyptian Bennu and later the phoenix transformed the dead into divine beings in bird form. The dualistic cosmology of light over darkness is the alchemy of opposing forces transforming dark matter into the realm of the spiritual world of light, and vice versa. Some believe the end of the Punic War in 146 BC between the Romans and Phoenicians forced the Mithras religion underground, and that the mythical phoenix was derived from their Egyptian-like mythology. To the Greeks and Romans, ascension is a rising sequence of increasing levels, values, and degrees, something that is leading upwards, joining the four elements of nature and the signs of the zodiac. The Thema Mundi of watery Cancer and the moon birthed the soul of the universe into cosmic order, organizing, dividing, refining into the soul minds. Leo's fire at the Lion's Gate connects the soul minds into the awakening of the physical consciousness of time. Taurus is the earthly plane of the gates of Hades. Two incongruent elements of water and fire converge at the horizon of earth. The Titaness Eos, goddess of the dawn, rose each morning from her home on the edge of Oceanus into the fury of the sun, which is the ultimate connection of water, fire, and earth. Eos is the sister of the sun god Helios and the moon goddess Selene. The dawn connects earth to the fire of the rising sun, whose light pierces into the watery moon's ultimate creation of the soul mind, that is represented by air, the faces of the four winds. Their ethereal presence are celestial spirits in a region beyond earth, carrying a mystical purity that transcends understanding. It's the light shining out of darkness, igniting life's spark carried from the rarefied winds of chaos. Mithras fills the quintessential space, the fifth element. Mithras is our connection of the divine breath of conjured-up gods. He is ether, which is present in all things. Mithras is our understanding of increasing levels, values, and degrees. Persian Mitra is the god of love, commitment, and friendship that transformed into the Greek and Roman god Mithras, who is the awakening consciousness of life and love, symbolized by the ascendant binding heaven and earth, because without love, life is not worth living. So how do I know this? Because the words love and death are a combined message in Latin on the Chi-Rho symbol. If the circle represents earth and the letter O, as was found in a previous video. Without love you are truly dead, which is symbolized by the sign of Scorpio. Those without hate resurrect as the phoenix, to live again in your immortal soul mind. That is, if you can overcome evil with good. Many things in life are simple. It is our mind without soul that makes it complicated. Once again, I'd like to thank my overworked and underpaid support staff, Pixie and Elsie, and Max, who makes it difficult to make these videos because he babbles constantly. And I'd like to introduce a new staff member, Stella, the rescue cat. It's interesting that I adopt a cat with the name that means star. Life has many twists and turns. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment to support my channel.